Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, the next season of Overwatch 2 is coming out titled Call of the Hunt. This season brings a lot of hero and game changes, so let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, we have a nerf to hero swapping. Now, instead of preserving 25% old shards when swapping, you only preserve 15%. The devs comment that swapping heroes is fundamental to the gameplay of Overwatch, and this ultimate shards refund mechanic has done a great job of decreasing friction here. It has helped matches feel less one-sided as it functions as a soft comeback mechanic. However, it also helped reinforce the perception that it's most always an advantage to counter-swap upon dying, which ideally isn't always true and requires some consideration due to how powerful ultimate abilities can be. We are reducing the amount of ultimate shards preserved by a significant amount in order to see if the increased cost of switching meaningfully impacts player behavior while retaining the benefits this mechanic provides. Now moving on to hero changes, Doomfist is getting a massive buff where now, while in Meteor Strike, he regains 75 health per second while in the air, but to counter that, the ultimate cost is now increased 16%. The devs comment that one of the most effective uses for an ultimate ability like Meteor Strike is to save it as an escape in order to grab a health pack instead of using it against his foes. Doomfist will now recover health during the targeting phase so that it can be used more offensively. Moving on to Junker Queen, her scatter gun is getting a buff where its spread is reduced by 8%. The devs comment that tightening the spread on Junker Queen's scattergun will make it more effective at range against small targets and give her slightly more teamfight presence before fully committing to getting in close to the enemy team. So, as some of you might remember, a few weeks ago, Malga was available to play for 3 days only, and while he was in that testing phase, it turned out that he was pretty weak against other tanks and comps. So, to counter this, his base health is being reduced from 500 to 350, but his base armor is increased from 0 to 150, and his head hit volume is reduced by 15%. Moving to his incendiary and volatile chain guns, the spread for firing both guns is reduced by 15%. The fire rate multiplier for firing both guns is reduced from 25 to 0%. The damage per shot increased from 4.5 to 5. The damage fall-off range is increased from 25 to 30 meters. The max ammo is increased from 300 to 350. And the movement speed penalty is reduced from 20% to 15% per gun. His overrun ability can no longer be interrupted by hack, and its damage reduction is increased from 30% to 50%. His cardiac overdrive ability, lifesteal, is increased from 60% to 70%. And his berserker passive, overhealth conversion rate, is increased from 40% to 50%. The devs comment that we got a lot of constructive feedback from players when Malga was available to try during his free preview weekend, so we've adjusted his kit for his official launch to give him the ability to last longer in a fight. Moving on to Ramatra, his base health is being reduced from 300 to 200, but his base armor is being increased from 0 to 100. His Void Accelerator projectile size is increased from 0.075 to 0.1 meters, and his damage is increased from 4.5 to 5 per pellet. The devs comment that Ramatra is quite powerful during his Nemesis form, though his base Omnic form may be too easy to ignore for a tank hero. We are adding some power there to even out the trade-offs between the two forms, with the Omnic form having even better range of damage, while Nemesis form's pummel can pierce enemy defenses. Sigma's experimental barrier, its regeneration rate is being reduced from 100 to 85 health per second. The devs comment that Sigma has very effective defensive options between his experimental barrier and kinetic grasp. the barrier regeneration rate is being reduced in order to create more opportunity to attack Sigma directly. Winston's Tesla cannon now ignores armor damage reduction. The devs comment that this is a special property for the Tesla cannon intended to increase Winston's effectiveness against other tanks with large armor health pools. He still wants specialize in dealing with tanks since his single target damage output is low, but it will be less of an extreme disadvantage. Moving on to damage, May's endothermic blaster's maximum ammo is being reduced from 150 to 120. The devs comment that we are reducing the maximum ammo to limit how long May is able to continuously slow an enemy target now that the primary fire deals more damage. Soldier 76's biotic field, its cooldown is being increased from 15 to 18 seconds. The devs comment that Soldier's self-sustainability is potent and makes him difficult to deal with while he's in its area. Rather than reduce its raw healing output, again, we are increasing the amount of time between consecutive uses to open up longer periods of vulnerability. Sombra's EMP's ability lockout duration is being increased from 1.5 to 3 seconds. That's a buff. But the damage is being reduced from 30 to 25% of current health. The devs comment that the 1.5 second lockout duration didn't feel impactful enough for an ultimate ability, but generally EMP is more interesting and effective when it's focused on the disabling aspect rather than the damage. Torbjorn's Overload. The overhealth is being increased from 75 to 100. The devs comment that the health decrease on Overload severely impacted Torbjorn's overall effectiveness, so we are reverting that change. Tracer's pulse pistols, the damage is being increased from 5.5 to 6 per pellet. The devs comment that this damage value has been changed a few times over the course of Overwatch 2 and is now back to Tracer's original damage. It was previously adjusted due to a couple of bugs, with the pulse pistol fall-off range and spread being much better than they should have. Moving on to supports, Baptiste's biotic launcher primary fire ammo is being reduced from 45 to 36. The devs comment that Baptiste has a high amount of sustained damage in addition to his various survival tools. We would prefer to keep his long cooldown abilities feeling impactful, so we are going to be pulling back on some of his damage potential here. Bridget's whip shot is being reduced from 80 damage to 70. The devs comment that Bridget ended up being the best performing support hero in the game by a fair margin since the last patch. It's likely a result of more than just the damage breakpoint change that she received, but it was a significant increase to her offense, so we are reverting it and will continue to evaluate further. Kiriko's healing Afuda projectile speed is being increased from 14 to 18 meters per second. And the protection Suzu invulnerability duration is being reduced from 0.85 to 0.65 seconds. And the healing explosion is being increased from 40 to 80 health. The devs comment that reducing the protection Suzu invulnerability time further will help it feel less frustrating to play against, but still enable it to have big play-making movements, although with a stricter timing requirement. To counterbalance that power loss, we're making Kiriko's healing more reliable. And finally, Mercy's Valkyrie no longer disconnects the Caduceus staff from its target upon activation. The devs comment that this is just a small quality of life improvement to help keep Mercy healing or powering up her allies without penalty after activating her ultimate. Alright, and that is it for the newest hero changes for Season 8. I hope that all of you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, I will see you all later.